Well, I'm going to come up with a new digital currency called, or actually a new physical currency called cat coins. Cat coins. And the way to mine them is you mine them out of the litter box. You use a special encrypted litter scooper, and you mine your cat coins out of there. And if you want to get in on with the deal, they're only like $100 each, right in the beginning. So very low price, some too cheap. Anyway, that's for the Bitcoin people out there. Actually, Bitcoins, if you bought them on early, that was a stroke of genius if you got them early. But, when it was early, nobody knew what was going to happen exactly. Nobody really imagined what was going to happen with it. But, I was checking around like a lot of stores. I never heard anybody, nobody takes them around here, obviously. Nobody's ever heard of them. It's like you go anywhere within 100 miles of Tampa, forget about it, man. You're not going to find them. But anyway, I want to get on with some of these basic premises with silver, too. Right now, I think later on, I think silver is going to go to some astronomical height due to panic, emotions, and people just pumping the metals. Right now, I'm pumping the metal right now, but, it's cheap. You see, it's cheap. It's like, some people are saying it's going to go down to $10, $8, and I don't know, maybe that 18 might have been it. I don't know. I mean, I always thought it was going to go solidly below 26. I didn't expect 18, but, it's already had a major correction, so, who the hell knows. But, it's not that, it's not something you put all your money into. I never said that kind of crap too. You put all your money into silver because everything you have is going to be lost if it's not in physical silver. But, buy Bitcoins too. Who's that, right? But, buying a few coins here and there right now. See, actually, if somebody was going to pay me in Bitcoins, I'd say, no, give me cash, give me money, give me US dollars. But, I would take silver. I personally would take silver. I have no problem with that at the current rate it's at now, $20 an ounce. I'd be like, that's fine by me. I don't give a shit, that'd be fine. But, I just want to review some of the basic premises that were that actually caused this silver bubble, whatever we had, like the mini bubble, because actually it was a bubble then, Silver should maybe be like $30-something an ounce, but it was like almost up to 50, right? What was really driving it? It was like Max Kaiser and the Sprott boys and all that type of stuff, but it was also partly because they were telling everybody that this is the way to crash J.P. Morgan, right? Now, there is some embryo truth behind, there's a lot of truth behind the statement that if you take not just the 1%, but if you actually examine the top 1/3 of 1% or the top 1/4 of 1%, how did they get their money? They're all connected with the financial and banking system almost all the time. Almost all the time. And don't tell me it's all like fair and square, man. See, they're on the inside, man. That's the deal. And there's something wrong with that, the whole situation. The trickle-down theory is total bogus. That's something they put out there. Carnegie probably put that out there when he was giving dimes to people like he was a philanthropist and stuff. There's no trickle-down theory because it's like these people actually, the people that have the most money, from what I've observed, I shouldn't say, well, they don't watch this. People with a lot of money probably don't watch me on here anyway, But if I was dealing with somebody, people with a lot of money, they have a hollow pit. It's like, there's no trickle-down theory too much. It's not, they don't have that. They have to have more and more and more. That's the way it is. So, like when you have the top 1/3 of 1% that are connected into the financial and banking system, they don't trickle. It doesn't trickle down from them. They just look for more. No matter what they have, they got $50 million. They want $100 million, and they're still not happy. They want $1 billion. They're still not happy. They're never happy. They're never satisfied. They got a bottomless pit. So, and how do they get that money? How do they get that money? Basically, they're getting off the backs of everybody else, right? So, part of the problem, part of the deal with silver was to supposedly break that system. But, obviously that's been a scam. We know that. But what's actually going to break the system is basically just going back to, well, not I don't want to say break the system, but make things more fair and square, is actually just going back to old school. A lot of people, when they concentrated too much on silver, like it was a get-rich scheme, we're going to crash the bankers, we just got to buy silver, and that's all we have to do. That's ludicrous, right? But actually which breaks the bankers is not using their bank. Like all the big banks are always looking for the small businesses. They need all the small businesses because the aggregate of all these little people dealing, the small businesses and all the individuals dealing with the bank, all those pennies add up to their power. If you actually don't deal with them, you're actually going to destroy them. And part of that thing could be with silver. Right now, silver is, even though it's an erratic investment and it's very considered high risk, at the current prices it is now, it's pretty depressed, so it's probably low risk. There's always times that a high risk asset has a low risk when the price has been crashed a while and it looks boring to people and stuff like that. So it's probably pretty safe now. I think later on there's going to be. I think the only time. Well, I'm going to keep this up for a while, but because I think in 2014 we're going to have where silver starts going up a lot, and people are going to be like screaming it's going to go right to $100 again. I don't think it is. I think either it's going to get hammered right before the 50 mark, or maybe if it goes beyond 50, it'll go to the 72 to 75 mark. And that's assuming that Israel strikes Iran. When the oil prices go up, there's going to be all the fear mongers and drama freaks out there telling you the world's going to end. It might not last that long. It might only be a couple months or something to get resolved or whatever the hell's going to happen. And we're also going to have another budget crisis, but that'll get resolved too. I think the real crunch problems where the government basically defaults on a debt is a few years down the road. And that's when you're going to see silver and gold skyrocket. So, and it's not going to exactly break the banks because, you know who that was? That was Max Kaiser. What the hell? Now he's pushing bitcoins left and right. Go buy yourself a bitcoin for $500, $700 a pop or something like that, and you can't spend it anywhere. Anyway, but there's one downside I don't like about electronic money, because now that I realize bitcoins is now that I saw that basically Ben Bernanke endorsed it more or less. It's like the thing where they're talking about, they're floating these trial balloons. I know Mario Draghi talked about it. Now it's also being floated in academic circles about negative interest rates. See, basically, in effect, you get real negative interest rates because if you get, a 0.5% in a bank or something like that, and inflation rate is like 2%, you got real negative interest rates. But now they're talking about if all money is only electronic, and that's the only kind of money you can have, well, then you might have, then you can have negative interest rates for real, because they won't accept paper, right? So, actually, the only way to fight them is going back to old school. And actually, what uplifted the whole human race was when we actually discovered oil and machinery. Because it took, and I'm driving up to something, because a lot of people look at this silver stuff as like, the thing that's going to solve all the world's problems and stuff like that. It ain't, man. Actually, what is going to do that is probably free energy, or cheap energy, or much, much less expensive energy. And there are a number of alternatives out there. I know I got an email about some cool stuff, and I'm aware of some of these things. And it was been an interest of mine, like with Stanley Myers, when he did the water-powered car, and people say the water-powered car, but it was basically a car that used water, not as a direct fuel, but the electrolysis from the fuel made the hydrogen, and the car ran on the hydrogen. Actually, Genepack actually sells these plans today. They don't make the cars, but they sell the plans and stuff like that, how to do this stuff. Genepack of Japan. But it looks like, anytime that comes out, see, the problem is with that, is that the real powers are in the oil industry. And, what's actually keeping things down where everybody's not getting more is that it's not allowing this free energy to come out in the open, because free energy is actually going to uplift everything all the way across the board. All the way across the board. But, I think one of the problems is where, people allow the elite to, hold power. There's a lot of games going on. I guess I'm flipping around in this. But where people actually allow the elite to hold a lot of power is that they figure that they're getting something out of it too. Like, in other words, a lot of small businesses will deal with, the big name banks because they figure the big name banks are going to help them out. But actually, you don't need them. You don't need them. Everybody went back to old school, and they're actually blue-collar worker type producers. Guess what? You would stop feeding the beast all the way. They'd be done. They'd be done. Don't bank with nobody. Forget it. Forget it. Actually, that would actually do it. But a lot of people, a lot of times when people jumped on the silver wagon too, a lot of people were just in there to just get rich fast. And see, that actually screwed up the whole philosophy behind the whole damn thing and jinxed it, right? And they got caught in the trap too. But now, me, myself, I never bought any coins. I think the highest they paid, I didn't buy anything over spot that was over, it was all under, it was 26 spot or 27 spot. It was the highest or something, 28. That was the highest. Most of mine was way below 20, way below 20. And silver and, the other stuff too. So, I wasn't biting when all these guys were saying it was going to go to the moon. I wasn't. So, that's me. That's how I did it anyway. So, like, when I'm telling you, like, right now, it's pretty safe. It is pretty safe. It is pretty safe. I don't think it's going to go that low. And it's going to probably hit some stupid heights that you're not going to believe. But I think that's a few years down the road. Now, when people are talking about, basically using all this to break the banksters, break the banks and stuff like that, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen just by buying silver. You got to stop feeding the beast. You got to stop using the banks, basically. You got to stop using it, because a lot of times, like, I'll use Bernie Madoff because I guess it's safe to say something against him now, right? But why did people invest in Bernie Madoff? They knew most people had a lot of money invested in Bernie Madoff. Why did they invest in him? I can almost tell you, guaranteed. They knew he was a crook. Okay? I mean, I guess it's probably safe for me to say that, because I could probably say that about everybody in Wall Street. They knew he was a crook, right? And they invested in him anyway. But they figured that he was being a crook for them. You know what I'm saying? So it was like their own little greed that got them in the trap too. They figured Bernie Madoff had a inside way, and this works with all the big names out there. When they go out there to sell you something, it could be JPM, it could be, Citibank or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff out there. I mean, people from Switzerland, all this kind of shit, HSBC or whatever, UBS. And it's like, they got a nice line. So people always think, well, these people are the smartest people to do with my money and all this kind of crap. No, it's not necessarily the case. It's like people want to just put something in there, and just sit back and, it grows like crazy. That's not really what happens. You got to actually produce. So actually, if the blue-collar worker basically is the one that's going to actually be the one that's going to probably be able to break the banksters more than anybody. It's the real producers. And, they get caught up in the same kind of crap because they go with the big names too. They'll go like with B of A or whatever. They got to use the biggest bank around because that makes them feel like all of a sudden they got some more money. They feel like they're more important, and it goes to their head. You don't allow that to happen, you're gonna break those guys. I don't know. Maybe I got a little bit of like what my uncle had because he was I'm not a CPA, but he was a CPA and he was like one of the top in his field in New York City. But man, he talked plain as anything, and he hated professionals. He hated them. It's like, he hated the way these people talk. They're so like highfalutin. I used to call a baseball, softball team he had, he used to call it Snob Hill, because he always used to mock that shit. He hated it. Maybe that's where I picked this crap up from, because I don't like it either. I don't like it either, man. He was very plain and down to earth, but he knew his shit. And I'm just saying, real common sense, not that I'm some kind of like expert on finance here, but real common sense. The mood is so much against silver right now. It hasn't been doing nothing for the last 2 years. It was like almost like a con game when everybody was telling you to buy over $40. It was like, they were telling you it's going to go to the moon, it's going to go to at least $100. And, you found out who those guys are. Right now, it's pretty freaking safe. It's pretty freaking safe. I think I'm not going to put videos, I think I'm going to do them like in 2014, because I think it's going to it's going to go up, and I may be wrong about that, but I think it's going to go up. And it's going to have another reset in 2015, not down to $20. But when it gets way the hell up there, I ain't going to say shit. I'm going to be off this crap. Because only thing I'm going to be getting, if I go on here and silver's like $200 an ounce and I'm saying it's getting dangerous, or it's $150 an ounce and I'm saying it's getting dangerous, I'm just going to get nothing but mud pies thrown at me on YouTube, because everybody in the world is going to be convinced it's going to go higher and higher, and it might. And I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go, man. I think that's how it's going to play out, to tell you the truth. It's going to hit Silvermania bubble, and I'm not going to argue with them. Let them do what they want. That's the way I look at it. But the way, I'm not going to change, man. I make all kinds of money on silver. I'm going to be doing like real simple car stuff. I don't give a shit about this fancy crap. I hate it. And maybe that's why, maybe I picked that up from my uncle, because he used to freaking do his own masonry work, carpentry. I don't know. Maybe that's where I picked some of this shit up, my attitude from. So he was like that too. He was like halfway working man, and he was like a real high-end CPA. So I don't know. Maybe that's where I picked this shit up from. Who the hell knows? I'm not sure, but don't be afraid to buy silver now. Just don't go 100% in anything. That's golden rule number one. And right now, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. It's probably pretty safe at $30, even when it was at $30. It went all the way down to 18, but it's not something you're gonna freaking like spend right away anyway. I don't know where the exact bottom or the exact top of anything is, and nobody else does either. People that tell you that kind of shit, they either get lucky once in a while and they tell you they got lucky there, and that's all you hear. They don't tell you about the 50 million times they're wrong. But use some common sense. And again, I'm going to put that video again on the bottom. I'm going to do that on every video of mine about Sam Zell's words, investment words of wisdom. I like that guy, man. I don't know him. It's a friend of mine. Used to work with him. He was like one of his main accountants a long time ago. Before he was a billionaire, actually. He had a lot of millions then. It's common sense. He has it right on the internet, though. He's cool. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And, just chill out, because, another guy out there, well, I don't like him too much. I guess Soros, except for his hemp deal. If he's making a bet that the S&P is going to crash, it's still, if either his bet is lost or he's still holding on, but he made this huge bet the S&P is going to correct hard, and he did that back in mid-August of 2013. I think that's going to play out. I think the inverse is going to start bubbling up here, where the markets start, edging down. and the gold and silver start taking up, even though it's not happening right now. You know, it's like on a daily basis. But just hang on. I just want to give you some words of encouragement, and beware the snake oil out there, because I would have liked to seen $100 silver, but I was like in disbelief. But I'm thinking, well, maybe, I don't know. I was gonna sell it before that, but it's like these guys out there. They're actually 99% of the people out there in the financial world. They're basically salespeople. Basically salespeople. That's all they are. I'm not connected to Sprott or Turd Ferguson or James or Morgan or whatever. I don't have like millions of viewers where I'm going to freaking influence the market. I'm telling you right now, it's pretty safe because it's pretty cheap right now. The mines are losing money. So if you don't have any, get some. You should. It's not gonna be a bad bet. It's not that speculative right now. And it's been around for so many thousands of years. It ain't gonna go away. It isn't like tulip mania or something, So anyway, and if you want to actually sell me some of your silver for cat coins, no problem. I'll take your silver off your hands and I'll mine some cat coins and I'll give them to you. How's that? I'm just kidding. Anyway.